Every stage in Harland Williams' career. You've definitely seen this guy. You just might not know his name. That cop in Dumb and Dumber who chugs a bottle of pee thinking it's beer. That's him. The hitchhiker in There's Something About Mary pitching 7-minute abs. Him again. The stoner cookie cop in Half-Baked. The silent biker in Superstar. The robot butler in a Disney movie your kids have watched 40 times. All the same man. He's stolen scenes from Jim Carrey, Ben Stiller, and Cameron Diaz, and somehow he's never quite become a household name. Then, at 62 years old, the comedy world suddenly remembered he existed. His name is Harland Williams. Let's take a closer look at every stage in his career. Stage 1. The Toronto kid who drew cartoons. He was born Harland Reeser Williams on November 14, 1962, in Toronto, into a family you wouldn't expect a goofball to come from. His father was a lawyer who served in Ontario's legislature, at one point even Solicitor General of the province. His younger brother Steve would grow up to become a legend of a completely different kind, a visual effects pioneer who helped build the very first computer-generated dinosaur for Jurassic Park. So one Williams brother was inventing the future of movie magic. The other was learning to make people laugh. Harland was the cartoonist of the family, obsessed with drawing, with characters, with voices. That detail matters because it explains almost everything that comes later. Stage 2. The forest ranger who walked away. Here's the part nobody sees coming. Williams enrolled at Sheridan College to study classical animation, hand-drawing cartoons frame by frame. But he dropped out, and before comedy, he spent stretches working as a forest ranger in the Ontario wilderness, planting trees, getting charged by a moose, writing poetry alone in the woods. Think about that. The man you know as a manic, motor-mouthed comedian spent years in total silence. He said animation was just too slow. You draw for months and never hear if anyone laughed. Stand-up gave him the thing he was actually chasing, an instant reaction. So in 1984, he walked into a Toronto comedy club and never really walked back out. Stage 3, the Letterman moment. For 7 years, he worked the Toronto clubs. Then in 1992, he moved to Los Angeles to chase the bigger rooms. And in 1993, he got the break that changes everything for a comedian back then, a spot on Late Night with David Letterman. He went up there and did his surreal, cartoon-voiced, bird noise-making thing in front of the whole country. And somebody important was watching. Jim Carrey saw that set, loved it, and recommended Williams to a pair of brothers who were about to make their first big movie. You can probably guess where this is going. Stage 4, the Scene Stealer era. The brothers were the Farrellys, and the movie was Dumb and Dumber in 1994. Williams played the Pennsylvania State Trooper, the one who pulls the guys over and unknowingly drinks from a whiskey bottle they'd been using as a toilet. One scene. A few minutes of screen time. People still quote it 30 years later. And that became the pattern for his entire film run. Not the star, but the guy who walks in, detonates one unforgettable moment, and walks out. He was the whale-calling sonar man in Down Periscope, the lovable cookie cop in Half-Baked in 1998. That same year, the hitchhiker in There's Something About Mary, ranting about a fitness scheme called 7-minute abs. And here's the wild part. He improvised about half of it on the spot. He even got his one shot at leading man, playing a clumsy astronaut in Disney's Rocket Man in 1997. The critics hated it. Kids loved it. It's now a cult classic. Funny how that works. Stage 5. The voice you didn't know was him. Remember he trained as an animator? That never left him. While his face was showing up in comedies, his voice was quietly building a second career. He voiced Lug in the 2005 animated hit Robots. He became Carl the Lovable Robot in Disney's Meet the Robinsons. He voiced pirates, monsters, and a talking piece of fruit named Apple in Annoying Orange. A whole generation of children grew up hearing Harland Williams without ever once seeing his face. For most actors, that's a side gig. For Harland, it was the beginning of his biggest swing yet. Stage 6, the man who built his own show. In 2017, Williams did something most comedians never pull off. He didn't just star in a kid's show, he created one. Puppy Dog Pals premiered on Disney Junior, and Williams created it, produced it, wrote it, and voiced a character in it. It ran for 5 seasons. The cartoonist kid from Toronto had come full circle. He was finally making cartoons, except now millions of preschoolers were watching them every single day. The slowest thing he ever quit became one of the most successful things he ever did. Stage 7. The Secret Other Lives. And somehow, that's still not the whole picture. Williams has written and illustrated children's books for decades, including a whole series about a little brontosaurus named Lickety-Split. He paints. He sells T-shirts he draws by hand, one at a time, in permanent marker. He started a rock band called the Cousins, with his actual cousin, the keyboardist from Barenaked Ladies, and they put out an album with a guest spot from a Canadian rock legend. Most people get one creative life. Harland was quietly living about 6 of them at once. Stage 8, the Harland Highway. In 2009, long before podcasting was cool, Williams started one called the Harland Highway, and he never stopped. 16 years later, it's sitting at well over 1,000 episodes, one of the longest-running independent comedy podcasts in existence. It's mostly just him, doing voices, playing characters, reading bizarre voicemails from fans. It kept him connected to an audience during the years Hollywood wasn't calling as much. And it turned out to be the perfect training for the moment that was about to find him. Stage 9. The comeback nobody saw coming. In January 2024, Williams sat down on a wildly popular live comedy show called Kill Tony. He was 61, and something just clicked. His chaotic, improvised energy was exactly what that audience of millions had been missing. He came back again. And again. By the end of the year, he'd been crowned the show's official Guest of the Year for 2024, handed a trophy on stage in front of a packed arena. Joe Rogan had him on. He launched a brand new national stand-up run called the Comzilla Comedy Tour. After 40 years in the business, the scene stealer was suddenly headlining the scene. The man whose name you could never quite remember was the name everyone was saying. The Cartoon Mind. So picture him one more time. The kid in Toronto drawing cartoons. The ranger alone in the woods. The unknown comic stepping onto Letterman's stage in 1993, hoping someone important was watching. Somebody was. And 40 years later, the face you've seen 100 times finally has a name you won't forget. Harland Williams, the cartoon mind who was always too strange for the spotlight, right up until the world decided strange was exactly what it wanted.